he left his wife and him.
Me and a baby too. A
And
baby
then
girl.
There was a baby after him.
The baby died right away. It was a couple of months.
Really?
My mother didn't take care of them. Didn't take care of me. I was a boy maybe 3, 4 years old already.
Now,
Yeah.
his father was in this country, and his mother and him, you know, with the grandmother, his family, with the family, remained in Jalutsu, you know.
In other words,
But
my grandmother practically brought me up.
Really?
My mother was busy running. She was traveling from the town she was in to Vienna. And she smuggled me. Vienna didn't have any salamis. So she brought salamis to Vienna and brought back money. In other words,
she smuggled to make some money.
to have some money.
Right.
Now
She was to bring me some toys from Vienna. I told you Vienna.
Yeah, that's where she used to go. But his father was stranded.
And my father
here
decided
on
to send
the
her
wall.
a divorce.
No, wait. Your father was stranded here because of the war.
Oh, he couldn't get back to...
He couldn't go back, and they didn't hear from him because the mail didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
There was no...
In other words, the Polish government gave my father a certain amount of Polish money to be able to travel to
Yeah, you told.
to a town. Forgot the. So instead of going to the place where they told him to go,
Yes, you told
he
her
went
that.
to a different place
Mhm.
altogether.
You
Mhm.
told her that.
Huh?
You told her that.
That's all right. That's...
You told her.
I told her, so
Yeah.
you know.
But his father remained, they didn't hear from his father for 7 years. For 7 years your father was here, and they didn't hear from him.
Wow. Could you tell me about your grandparents and your great-grandparents?
What about your grandparents?
Oh, my grandfather died when I was practically a little boy, a baby. And my grandmother took care of me. And my mother was busy traveling from Vienna back to the
Back and
town
forth.
where she came from. Like she brought things to Vienna that they were short on certain kinds of foods.
Mm-hmm.
So she brought the foods over there, got some money, came back. So that's the way it was going on.
He wouldn't have been an only one, but he had other children, they died.
There was another baby besides me.
Right.
My father had, but it died as maybe 6 months old.
They had no food.
So it was only you and one other baby, or there was more?
There was another baby
One
besides me,
There was one before him that died.
and then one after
and
me.
one after him that died.
Really?
Yeah. They had no food. They had no way of taking care of them. They lived in a...
My grandmother had a piece of bread in a, what do you call it, shanty,
In a
little
closet.
closet. She locked it up with a key. I shouldn't eat it up. You'd eat it for the next day in the morning.
They were starving. They
Wow.
had no food.
We're starving from hunger.
Right.
And I forgot what I wanted to say. Forgot. But he used to run around barefooted with rags on his feet instead of shoes. They were very poor.
Mm.
And he used to, they had that place where he used to dance, remember?
Restaurants in
A little
town.
restaurant. So he used to dance for them.
I was
They
about
gave
4 or
him
5 years
something-
old.
They gave him
The
something
customer
to
was
eat.
sitting there, so they gave me something to eat, so I danced around by myself.
Really?
I must have been 4 years old.
Right.
They used to sing and he used to dance.
They were singing and I was dancing.
And that's how you got
I
food?
was hopping around, but I was
So they
dancing.
gave him a little food. He was starving.
Wow. Now, the one older, you said you had a younger sister, but the older one was a boy or a girl?
They were all girls. They were girls.
What girl?
Your sister, the one before
Sister
you was
was a girl,
the
yeah.
one after
Right.
him a girl.
One girl. And they were both, I was the only boy.
Mm-hmm.
One before me a girl and one after me a girl. Gone.
But then, after the war, his father went back to Poland, and they found out that his mother was with another man at that time. She was pregnant with another man. She had another man. She didn't hear from him, so she
So he wasn't, he was died or something, right?
they didn't know
Right.
for 7 years they didn't get any mail, there's nothing.
Hmm.
So he came back there and divorced his mother and married Auntie.
He divorced his mother, and he was here. He sent her what do you call it, a divorce
A get?
by mail
Uh-huh.
to a New York rabbi, to a rabbi in the town over there, with $100 worth of cash to let him go. She was glad to grab the money and sign the divorce.
Because
Go.
she was courting another man.
Mm-hmm.
She took up another man.
Mm.
Eventually, then she married this other man, and that's where Barney comes from.
So that's your stepbrother,
Yeah,
half-brother,
Yeah,
half-brother.
that's where he comes from.
Right.
And Auntie was his second cousin. Auntie was your father's second cousin?
Who?
Auntie?
Yeah.
She was his
The
second.
Auntie's, you heard of Auntie?
Yeah, I know Auntie Sadie.
She did.
She knew Auntie.
She knew Auntie.
Yeah.
Auntie's mother was my father's first cousin. So when he came to Europe, he knew she had a daughter. So he wanted, because he liked her mother. Her mother was nice.
Her mother was a sister to your grandmother, no? Wasn't she a sister to your grandmother? Auntie's mother?
So
No.
which grandmother? My
No?
real grandmother?
Yeah.
No.
No.
There were no relatives at all.
Oh. Whose sister was she? She was a sister to somebody.
Who was sister? Well, she was sister to my grandmother.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
to
what
my
I
father's
mean.
mother.
To your father's
In other
mother.
words, Auntie's mother's mother was a sister to my grandmother, to my father's mother.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, his grandmother's daughter was his first cousin. So he was once over there with his mother to the big city where his
That's
wife's mother lived,
That was
and
in,
she saw how she took care of her husband, how nice she took care of him. She said not to talk loud because her husband was sleeping. He couldn't forget that. So he said her daughter would be very good for him, my father, because her mother was so good to her husband, so she'll be good to me too.
Right.
that
So
was
then he met Auntie, they married Auntie.
that was in Warsaw.
Huh?
That
In
was
Warsaw,
in
but
Warsaw.
when he came from here to divorce my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother couldn't wait to grab a couple of $100 with the divorce. Give me the money. She went up to the rabbi. He sent the money, divorce. She signed, got rid of him. Then she was sorry why she did it. She saw money. She went crazy.
Mm.
But at one
That's your
time-
grandmother, the real
Yeah.
grandmother.
Right, Nessa.
Yeah,
Nessa.
but when his father your father wanted her to come here. Didn't your father
Oh,
want
when he came here, you mean she didn't want to come here.
his mother, his father begged his mother to come here.
She didn't want to
She
come
didn't want to come.
because she knew the type he was. She didn't like him.
I don't know
Yeah.
why she didn't.
I don't know why. I don't know why either.
Well, whatever. She didn't
Yeah.
like him. Maybe because she fell in love with someone else.
Right. Do you know who you're named after? Do you know who?
Who are you named after?
Do you know who you're named
Who are
after?
you named after?
I was named after my father's grandfather and my mother's grandfather.
They both had
Good.
the same name?
No. Both Husky.
Oh, got two names.
Do you know anything about them?
Husky was, huh?
Do you know anything about them?
Do you know anything about them?
No.
No.
They were dead before I was born. I mean, they died.
Right.
Because I was born, they named me after them.
Right, right.
But his mother, his father, when he got the divorce, he wanted him to come with him. He wanted your father wanted you to come with him. So why don't you tell him?
My who?
Your father wanted you
Yeah.
to come with him.
So my father wanted me to come, but it's a good thing that he wanted me to come with you. Otherwise I'd be where all the Hitler people are.
Right.
Where all the other Jews are, among the 6 million Jews. So that's it.
Yeah, but your mother was glad. She was glad.
She was
to
glad, she didn't care.
She
Take him.
didn't care. She
Mm.
was glad that he went.
In fact, I didn't want to stay with her. As soon as I heard my father came from America, in fact, she took me over there to see him, and she took the money with the divorce. So I didn't want to leave my father anymore,
Right.
because he gave me money and all kinds of things. I felt like a big shot. I was about 8 years old then. So,
But his mother didn't care. She was glad to get rid of him because her husband didn't like the idea of her having him live with them.
so he married his cousin's daughter, and
Anti-Sadie.
that was his cousin that lived there, because he remembered how his cousin took care of her husband, so the daughter will be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't realize the daughter could be something else. She was a different thing altogether.
When he married her, what happened?
She got crazy.
The night after the first night they got married, she went off her mind, and he had to put her in an institution.
Really?
She was in an institution for a whole year.
Wow.
Until she got better. He had a lot of trouble with her.
Wow. Can you,
What else?
Can you hear me?
yeah,
My voice, so they'll know that I'm talking for him.
that's all right.
What?
Because he don't remember a lot of things.
That's all right. Can
Now,
you describe your parents? Can you tell us about your parents?
Huh?
Could you tell anything about your parents?
What could I tell about my parents? What? Nothing.
His father brought him here. In order to come here, he had no birth certificate.
So
In
how?
Europe, when children are born, especially about the Jews, they don't register, they don't nothing.
You mean in the
Like
small
he's
towns?
here, baby's here, that's all.
In the small towns.
So
no.
when I had to leave the country, I had to come in here. I had to have a birth certificate. I had no birth certificate. So my mother ran around, my father pushed my mother around to get a birth certificate. She couldn't get because I wasn't registered.
Mm-hmm.
Jewish children are not registered among the government, the Polish government. They don't give a damn what you got, they don't want to know.
In
They're
the
not
small,
interested.
small town.
So I wasn't registered. So how am I gonna, without a birth certificate, they wouldn't let you in here. So my father went to a rabbi in the town where he was born and gave him a couple of bucks. And the rabbi swore that he's the one that he knows I was born on this day, and he gave him a paper for the government to give me an exit visa to be able to come here. Otherwise I'd remain here, I wouldn't be able to go, wouldn't be able to come. I was about 12 years old then already.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I got the
actually,
visa and we came over
he
here.
doesn't know his real birthday.
Right.
It was a made-up birthday.
Why did you come to America? Like, why did you come, and can you describe the trip to America?
Yeah, what about you could have remained there if your father didn't.
If I had remained there, I'd be among the Hitlerists.
Right.
I know, but to come over here, his father was allowed a certain length of time in.
And then we had 2 years. He came in 1923 back to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
In 25 he had to leave.
He had to leave.
Was on the month of March. And we just made it by the
The last minute he decided
last minute.
to leave.
In March, we came here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to come. He'd lose his citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
His citizen papers wouldn't have been good, my father's. They were expired. They had to be renewed every,
He waited till the last minute.
he had to wait the last minute. So then we went on the boat and we came here.
Can you describe your trip?
Huh?
Can you describe the trip over?
Could you describe the trip? He had a wonderful trip. They went second class.
I was
They-
praying the boat should get lost on the ocean
He had such a
because the food was so good. It was second class we went because it was good. In third class, the doctors bother you, they examine you and all kinds of things. In the second class, they don't, because you're a higher class person,
Mm-hmm.
means they're not being by the doctors bothered. You're just free. They had good food. I never had such food in my life. And they served 3 meals a day on the boat, and I was praying for the ship to get lost
He had a
on the
ball.
ocean
Wow.
because I wanted to take longer.
Right.
In 5 days we were here.
So you didn't go through Ellis Island, or did you go through Ellis Island?
Did you go to Ellis Island?
No, we didn't go through Ellis Island at all because in third class you got to go through Ellis Island. That's the low grade coming there.
Mm-hmm.
We were in second class. Second
They
class
were
are not being bothered.
They were high class.
They went off the boat. It was a cab, a taxi. My father took a taxi and went to his sister. We went to the east side.
His father had a lot of sisters. He had a brother and sisters.
And they were all in America?
No. No.
What?
Your father had sisters. He
Yeah,
had-
Yoffet.
One sister and a brother was in America, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
The others remained in Rodham. You know Yadja?
Right.
Yadja's from, she's from your father's,
Her
where's?
mother was my father's sister.
Mm-hmm.
That's where she's
Right,
my
your
cousin.
cousin. Right.
But Yadja comes from where? From your,
Mindel.
that's your brother's sister?
Yeah, but
Yeah, from one of
my father's
your fa-
sister.
one of his father's sisters
That's the youngest one.
comes Yadja and her brother
Mm.
is from them. But the
Um,
rest, the others all remained, they vanished.
they all remained in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
What was life?
What is?
Wait, chill.
What was life like in Poland? What was it like growing up in Poland?
What?
What was it like growing up in Poland? And his town was terrible. They were poor. But in
And not to eat.
in
We're
Warsaw,
starving.
Warsaw was all right.
Mm-hmm.
Warsaw was good, but not where he comes from.
What about your education? Like, what was school like?
Did you, your education?
Did you go to school?
In Poland, they went to school. for
you
2
mean,
years.
You mean in Warsaw you went to
Huh?
school? In Warsaw?
In Warsaw, yeah.
But,
The city of Warsaw. That's my father lived for 2 years over there. We came back because
Before
he couldn't
that-
stay there anymore.
before
As an
that,
American
you didn't go to
citizen,
school.
as I said, told you before, if he stayed longer, he'd lose his citizenship and he wouldn't be able to come back here anymore.
Yeah, but you didn't go to school until you came to Warsaw.
Warsaw for about a year or so.
What was it like going to school there? What was school like?
Was it good?
Right.
The school was nice there? Was good, right?
It's all right.
You had no problems?
No.
What about when you came to America? Did you go to school here when you came to?
Yeah, when you came here, you went to a school where it's a foreign school? Where you went to a school where you
We foreigners, yeah, foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
PS25, I remember now, yeah.
And then from there you went
And then when I went to a regular school,
regular public school.
they had up to 5B or that's all. PS25, that's,
The,
all the foreigners were there.
Junior high.
Up to junior high.
The junior high.
And then you went to high school someplace
It was a
else?
foreign, they called it foreign class.
He
Mm-hmm.
didn't go to high school.
Oh.
No.
Then he worked with his...
Finished that school over there when I was transferred from the, up to the fifth grade and went to school, public school.
His father, when they came here, they had nothing.
Right.
So his father opened up a little shop like with the leather, the sweatbands.
The little shop we lived there.
They lived in the back, in the front was like
He
a
bought
store.
leather,
Mhm.
And he opened,
skins, leather skins, sheepskins.
in the east side, they opened up.
And we used to cut strips for caps,
had
inside the
caps-
cap.
caps
People
and
wore
hats.
caps in
Mhm.
those days,
Caps and
hats and caps.
Right.
So there used to be a sweatband inside, a leather band inside in the cap, in the hat. So we made those kind of sweatbands.
But I want to tell her that it was a store where you walked down a couple of steps,
Mhm.
and they lived in the back of the store with the toilet in the
I
yard.
used to set up,
He came from school, and he helped his father with the
leather.
I was standing by a chopping block like a butcher block with a die, a metal die, chopped out the forms of the leather to be able to sew into the caps.
Mm.
They were poor, they had no money. so
Right.
he had
See, the boys,
to help work.
the young kids used to go to school, they all of them wore caps. And inside the cap, they had to put a piece of leather in, it shouldn't rub against the forehead. Instead, they put a cap front.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we made those pieces of leather,
Mhm.
and we sold them to the cap makers, and they sewed them onto the caps. That's
When
the
he
way we
lived-
made it.
When he lived with his father in Warsaw, he lived there, Auntie lived there with her sisters, they all lived together,
Really?
yeah.
So how was it in the Lower East Side when you came here?
Huh?
How was
Lower East Side, mostly immigrants were there.
She called me Maki, you know, baseball.
All
I didn't speak English.
right?
immigrants, all the immigrants landed in the East Side
In that section,
At that
that the
time.
east side over there.
at
Mhm.
that time. But then, his father, they worked themselves up a little and they moved. Where did you move? To the Bronx?
No,
Where did you move from the
to the east side, on East 4th Street.
From there, where did you move?
From the
East Side.
east side, we moved.
I think you moved to the Bronx.
We didn't move to the Bronx. Where did we move to the east side?
There's a lot you don't remember.
Got to anywhere moved to the east side.
You didn't move to the Bronx from the East
I
Side?
think we lived in the Bronx. Yeah, I think we lived in the Bronx.
I know more than he does. He
So
don't
tell it,
remember.
say
He
it.
don't remember.
In the Bronx.
And then from there, they moved to Brighton Beach. From there, you moved to Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
They built themselves up
Right.
there, from the business.
Now after a leather
And
business.
then he, from this little store, they opened up a shop on Broadway. They had a big,
In Manhattan?
Manhattan,
Manhattan, they had a big loft
Wow.
on Broadway.
But how did you get into the real estate business?
How'd you get into the real estate business?
yeah. Bought a house, a building, an apartment house.
No, because, you know, they worked themselves up, so they had money, so they bought,
Where was it, house?
you had a house in Brighton and a house in Ocean Avenue.
Ocean Avenue.
And then they
Which,
gave,
which house we lived in? Is that the same house we lived in? In Brighton? No?
no,
Oh, but they were collecting rent, that's right, yeah.
I don't remember.
Had go around to 32 families to collect rent.
Really?
Yeah, but when you were single yet when you moved to Brighton.
Sure was single, sure.
You forgot. They used to go on the beach. They used, you know, the house was like near the beach, right near the beach. And he,
It was a Mirasol, that's what
yeah, he had it good
The
already.
Mirasol was a beautiful building. It just built up
Yeah.
Mm.
It was right right on top of the boardwalk.
on the boardwalk, yeah.
Hmm. And then from there, we moved. I got married. We got married, and we moved to the Second Avenue. Then, like I told you before, then
Then to Borough Park.
to Borough Park, and then he,
Now, what other jobs did you have besides, what were you, what
then
jobs?
when they gave up the business, he got a job on Wall Street, in Wall Street.
Who get a job where? In Wall Street?
Wall Street, when you gave up the shop. The reason they gave it up, because it was, the business was bad
It
already.
didn't go good anymore.
The
Mm-hmm.
business wasn't good anymore.
Gave it up.
Well, people stopped wearing the caps.
Yeah, they stopped wearing caps, and now the caps don't even have leather
Mhm.
in it. So he got himself a job on Wall Street,
Okay.
and he learned a lot about the finances.
Mhm.
He learned a lot